The Youth Parliament will now consider the first motion of the day, voting age. The full motion is printed on the order paper. I call the member of the Youth Parliament from Cardiff to move the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Currently, 16-year-olds in Wales and Scotland can vote in devolved elections. Their peers in England and Northern Ireland cannot vote in any. Why should some young people have to wait 2 years longer for their voices to count? And for those who can vote in certain elections, why not all? By the time they turn 18, many young people will already be disillusioned with democracy. The result is low turnout. In the 2019 UK general election, under half of those aged 18 to 24 turned out to vote. Young people unengaged in this way means young voices left unheard, young votes left uncast. This is detrimental to our democracy, because a democracy without young people is a democracy without foresight. But our presence here today is proof of young people's power as a democratic force. Lowering the voting age, combined with proper political education, is how we harness this power at the polls. Election data from 2021 shows that in Scotland, those enfranchised at 16 turned out to vote in higher numbers than those who gained the vote at 18, proving that when given the opportunity earlier, more young people will turn out to vote. The campaign for votes at 16 is older than any NYP in this room. It's been selected as a UKYP priority many times. But what's different now is that we have the UK government's promise to lower the voting age to 16 behind us. We have an unprecedented opportunity to work with this government to make lowering the voting age a reality. We owe it to ourselves, to those who campaigned tirelessly before us, and to every young person across the UK to take it. Thank you.
The general debate is now open. Yes, red tie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is George and I represent Brent in London. Today we gather in the world's oldest parliament, but the challenge of our time is whether we take the unchanging ideals of those who sat on these benches before us and make them live once again in the modern world. If Britain was a country born today, we would have never designed our democracy the way it looks now, where millions of young people, welcomed when the cameras are rolling, are sidelined to the margins of debate once turned off. Giving our generation back control of our destiny is the central calling of our time. Democracies that aren't sustained don't evolve. Democracies that don't evolve die, and we are not a historical relic buried in the past. We are a living, breathing movement. Thank you.
Front row, second along. No.
Imagine being old enough to work, pay taxes, drive a car, and even join the military, yet being told you're too young to vote. That's the reality for 16 and 17-year-olds today. Young people are deeply affected by government decisions on education, healthcare, and the economy, yet we have no say in shaping our future. It's time to change that. We should expand political education in schools, ensuring that all young people understand their rights, responsibilities, and the power of their vote. Democracy is strongest when it includes every voice. If 16-year-olds can be trusted to contribute in society in so many other ways, then we should be trusted with the most fundamental right of all, the right to vote. Thank you.
Yes, with the flower. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Emmanuel Jha and I'm the Member of the Parliament for Leeds. I stand before you to address the hypocrisy surrounding voting rights for young people. It's time that we recognise that 16 and 17-year-olds have the passion and the insight to engage in politics. We will live with the consequences of today's decisions, yet we're denied the power to influence them. Look at Scotland, for example. In the 2014 independence referendum, over 100k young people registered to vote, and around 75% of them turned out to make their voices heard. This decision empowered us to shape our future, Denying us this right means silencing our own voices. Young people can be voices of destruction sometimes, but we can also be voices of construction. Bringing fresh ideas and solutions provides a new thing to our democracy. We need political education within schools to prepare these young people to be able to vote within general elections. It's not just about fairness, it's about ensuring that our perspective matters. Let's break down the barriers that keep us from voting and create a democracy that truly represents us all. Let's bring it on, young people.
Okay. Yes.
Hello, I am Perla Hardy and I am an MYP for Kent. Mr. Speaker, before we talk about lowering the voting age, we must first ensure that young people actually understand politics. That is the real priority. Giving 16-year-olds the vote might sound progressive, but what good is a vote if people don't understand how government works? Too many leave school with the little knowledge of our democracy. Instead of rushing to lower the age, let's focus on proper political education, teaching young people about how laws are made, how taxes work, and what their vote really means. Countries like Denmark have excellent political literacy programs, and as a result, their young people are far more engaged. We should be learning from that model. So, before we change the voting age, let's make sure every young person has the knowledge to make informed choices. First, education. Then we can have the debate about votes for 16 to 17-year-olds. Thank you.
The back, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To put it simply, as young people, we are the future of modern democracy. With our generation's daily use of social media, we are able to have such a wide political scope. This allows us to bring fresh perspective into politics, subverting the traditional way of viewing democracy and looking at things through a greater sense of enlightenment. It is crucial that young people can express their political views. I'm sure we are all in agreement here. In preparation for today, I carried out a survey with my constituents, and the consensus was that young people feel political education would be incredibly empowering. Perhaps it's something previous generations should have had too, but that doesn't mean it's too late to start now. If 16 and 17-year-olds are given the opportunity to vote, we'll be able to have a say in the change we've always wanted to see. And as MYPs, I think we are the prime example of this. Thank you.
Cigarro long yellow tie. Yep, you. Yeah, come on.
Me. I believe 16-year-olds should vote. If we can work, pay taxes, and even serve in the military, then we deserve a say in the decisions that shape our future. But let's be honest, young people are incredibly impressionable. We are constantly influenced by social media, celebrities, and even teachers. Education should teach us how to think, not what to think. Yet too often, it becomes a tool for pushing political agendas. There is a real risk that political education could turn into indoctrination rather than impartial learning. If we want young voters to make informed choices, we need a system that presents both sides of every argument fairly. Right now, too many loud voices, whether online or in the classroom, push their own biases as fact. Making political education mandatory without ensuring neutrality would be absolute lunacy. Let's empower young people to think for themselves, not manipulate them into following one viewpoint. Let's create informed voters, not brainwashed ones.
Scotland, yes.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker. My name is Christian Lukens and I represent North East Scotland. The vote for 16 and 17-year-olds should be allowed in all elections and referendums. We can work, we pay taxes, we can join the army. Yet we don't have the right to have our voices heard in the decision-making of our own country, and that is unfair. A young person from Dundee said, "A lot of adults are ignorant about how they vote," and it's true, but a lot of young people are equally ignorant. And why? Because we are taught what we need to be taught to make informed decisions. If we want to change that, we need proper political education and the right to vote. Look at Scotland, 75% of 16 and 17-year-olds voted in the 2014 Scottish independent referendum, and more recent research shows that voters' turnout is higher amongst those who voted from the age of 16 or 17. This proves that young people are ready and engaged when given the chance. It's time for the rest of the UK to follow suit. Let's trust young people with our future. We deserve a say in our decisions, in the decisions that affect us. Thank you.
At the back.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Politics is a very unpredictable entity. It evokes both passionate anger and burning excitement. Perhaps the most monumental thing about politics is that it affects everyone, whether we like it or not. This wide-reaching impact of politics does not discriminate by age. Rather, the people here in Westminster dictate our lives. However, these very young people whose trajectories are shaped by politicians who sit on these green benches cannot currently vote in elections. How can this be? A 17-year-old can drive a car, have a child, give blood, own their own home, and even own a private pilot's licence. Now, if somebody in here can explain to me why a 17-year-old can be trusted to fly a plane but not vote for somebody who represents them, then trust me, I am all ears. I absolutely echo the Minister's words today, and I'm delighted to hear that votes for 16 should hopefully be on the agenda very soon. So let us educate our young people so that they understand politics better, and please, let's give them the right to vote for who represents them.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Romeo Bremer from the constituency of Hackney. Yes, Mr. Speaker, 16 and 17-year-olds should have the right to vote. It's often the argument that young people are not mature. However, you've already heard, Mr. Speaker, that young people have certain liberties, such as being able to work, pay taxes. Our rights are inconsistent, and this needs to change. How are we able to ensure security in our lives or influence the next generation if we are not given the right to vote? It's a civic duty and increases the responsibility that young people constantly show that they possess. It is vital for our democracy to franchise young people alongside having political literacy and education. This is not just fundamental for 16-year-olds, but it would also have been crucial for modern-day voters. We should be able to have our ideas represented in various votes and elections to instrument change in society. This policy should be a priority for the UK Youth Parliament so it can be a change for the next generation, by the next generation. Thank you.
Okay. Let's go right to the back. No, sit down, no, next to you. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name's Neve. I represent the area of Bristol. As a representative of Bristol, we have found that our young people believe that votes at 16 and 17 is a necessary change that should be implemented. Some may say that young people are easily influenced, mistrusting, and have a lack of understanding about politics. However, with the addition of political education, young people feel that they will be more informed and they will be at less risk of radicalisation, as commonly they are left to learn from social media that is typically a platform that spreads misinformation. In a survey carried out by Channel 4 of 319 people aged 16 to 24, found that 80% said they would use their vote, proving the desperate wanting for the young people to engage in the democratic system. We are the future. We should be able to make our mark and change our future for the better. Thank you.
Yes, with the blue folder.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I stand in front of you today. My name is Isabel Bryan. I stand in front of you today representing the young people of North Belfast. Many who feel disillusioned with today's political systems. In a survey done by the Economic and Social Institute, found that 96% of Northern Ireland felt that its voice had not been heard. This represents a failure by governments to listen to the ideas and voices of young people. This must change. Votes at 16 would allow young people to reclaim their voice and feel like they have a say in their own future. We can no longer let young people be unrepresented and undervalued. Votes at 16 allows young people to hold their elected officials to account and build a future in which they feel included. But this must come with political education. Too many young people are misinformed about politics and rely on social media for their political views. For votes at 16 to work effectively, we must educate young people and give them political power. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Deceit, lies and corruption. the pillars of our government. Dear Mr. Speaker, everybody is tired. I'm tired. You're tired. We're all tired. I'm tired of not having change. We must have a change. The power to have a vote is to change. Over and over again, our government has failed to act. We need change. In order to build a great nation, we need a strong foundation. And this foundation stems from a wide and diverse group of voters, which should include young people's voices. It stems from the reformation of the education system and the inclusion of politics in the curriculum. No longer can we be innocent bystanders while we watch these so-called politicians swindle us of our future. After all, we are that future. Let us have the right to make change. Voting is perhaps one of the most important rights we have as citizens. Don't let anyone tell you any different. Let's not allow people who abuse power back into positions of power. Brexit cost £114 billion British pounds, detrimentally affecting the country's economic output. Inflation, all-time high. But don't worry, it's okay. It's not like it will have long-lasting effects. Right. Oh wait, yes it will. Today's generation, our generation of young, blossoming youths, have more decorum and backbone than frankly most. The past is the past, and the future is ever so near. So give us the pen and let us take control of our future.
Give your name. Could we just have your name and constituency?
Justice Mio for Kent.
Excellent, thank you. Let's go over to Wales. Who have we got from Wales?
Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Daniel and I represent Wrexham in North Wales. Young people today are angry, and why shouldn't they be? Youth services have been cut over the last 10 years by a rough 32% in real terms. Young people's work is valued at less than the work that is done by our older peers, and schools are having to make cuts to their budgets, affecting our education. With one survey finding that 75 respondents said their school was running a deficit or was only sustaining a budget by cuts to our education. While young people lack the power to change their MP. This lack of representation will leads to people feeling that politics cannot make a difference, with one study finding that half of young people have lost faith in UK democracy. In Wales, we do have the right to vote, and many exercise this in the 2021 Senedd elections. However, a BBC report found that nearly 35,000 young people in Wales were not registered to vote in this election. So yes, we should be providing young people with the political right to vote, but this should not mean that political education is swept to the side. Diolch yn fawr iawn.
Okay. Let's go to yes.
Mr. Speaker, my name is Phoebe Gruber and I'm here representing Cheshire West and Chester. The increased in turnout as a result of enfranchising 16 and 17-year-olds has already been discussed. However, not only does this turnout increase directly, it leads to a long-term positive multiplier effect in voting intention. A study in Austria, who became the first EU country to allow votes at 16 in 2007, showed that if individuals experience their first elections in a context where the base probability turnout is higher, as it is for 16 and 17-year-olds due to the educational social networks that they are embedded in, they are more likely to retain a higher steady turnout rates in the future. Therefore, allowing votes at 16 will increase long-term turnout, strengthening electoral mandates. Thank you.
Right at the back.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Olivia Morris. I'm from east of England, central Bedfordshire. Young people have been fighting for 16 and 17-year-olds to be voting for for many years than people in this room have been alive. This has been fighted for decades. And we're still in this room fighting for why 16 and 17-year-olds should have the right to vote. In the future, we are looking at issues such as climate change, education, healthcare, and this directly affects us, and it directly affects the young generations of the future. So why should 16 and 17-year-olds not have the right to vote? When this affects us, it affects them, and decisions need to be made now for our future. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Finlay Shaw, Member of Youth Parliament for Newcastle upon Tyne. I urge members to vote in favour of this motion because, as we've heard from the address from the Prime Minister and the Minister for Democracy, it's already government policy. And a previous member said it's soon to be on the agenda. Over the general election, it was not really mentioned by any parties that had on the manifesto because it's still seen as a political taboo. And it's still not widely mentioned by the government, and it's our responsibility to represent our constituents and to represent them to the people in power. So even if you don't agree with the motion, it's already going to be government policy, and it's widely wanted by our constituents. So for that reason, urge you to vote in favour of the motion.
Yes, round the back with the blue folder.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Ashaz Abbas. I am a member of Youth Parliament for Rotherham. I stand to argue that 16 and 17-year-olds should be allowed to vote in all elections and referendums. The truth is, young people are already impacted by political decisions. From education policies to climate change, their future are shaped by the choices made today. So why should they have a say? Critics might argue that 16 and 17-year-olds aren't mature enough to make such important decisions, but I ask you, is age the true measure of readiness to participate in democracy? Many 16-year-olds are already working, paying taxes and contributing to society in meaningful ways. They deserve the right to shape the policies that affect them. And let's not forget the role of political education. We need to equip young people with the knowledge and skills to make informed choices. Schools should provide comprehensive civic education, enabling students to engage critically with political issues. This will ensure that they are not only eligible to vote, but are also well prepared to do so. Allowing 16 and 17-year-olds to vote is not just about granting rights, it's about giving them the responsibility and the tools to be active, informed citizens. The future is theirs, and it's time their voices are heard in shaping it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm Oliver from Staffordshire. With political education, we can all agree it is a necessity. However, every person here knows in PSHE lessons we are often thrown to the side because teachers are overworked and underpaid. 16 and 17-year-olds having the right to vote means that people can use that education and effectively use it. There's no point pushing for political education if young people do not use it. Frankly, that's impossible. Not impossible, but just stupid to do. We need 16 and 17-year-olds having the right to vote in order for people to use that education to better this country, or else we'll just go into a cycle of decline and nothing will happen. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I now call the Member of the Youth Parliament from Telford and the Wrekin to conclude the debate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This motion gives a voice to a generation of 16 to 18-year-olds who feel forgotten, who feel voiceless in our democracy. We face a broken education system that has failed to realise the dreams of millions, a climate crisis ignored by the decision-makers of the past and present at the expense of us, the adults of tomorrow. A generation who feel disappointed that their warnings aren't valued and their issues are consistently not prioritised. We're told we're not worthy of the vote, that we lack the life experience, that we won't value a voice in democracy. We're asked to accept an imbalance in representation that undermines our ability to engage. But how can we engage with a system that denies us the tools to do so? How can we understand a democracy that deprives us both the vote and the education to use it? This motion does more than grant young people the right to vote. It ensures they're equipped to use it responsibly. It fosters the emergence of informed critical thinkers who will challenge their leaders and hold them accountable. It creates a society that's more inclusive and tolerant. It builds an electorate that will ensure future generations are included in the process. A system slanted against the young undermines the British values that underpin the UK, the values of democracy, individual liberty, the rule of law and tolerance. It's time to follow the example of devolved nations and grant all those aged 16 and over the right to vote in elections and referendums. This motion is our chance to give a greater voice to a generation who felt forgotten, the generation we stand here to represent. This can be the catalyst in energising youth turnout and participation in the politics of our communities. It may finally make society remember our place in any vision they have for the UK. For we are the future of this land, the leaders of tomorrow. It's time our democracy reflects that, not through words and promises, but through the right to meaningfully engage. It's about time younger voices were recorded at the ballot box. It's about time we've supported in understanding our rights and how our democracy functions. Thank you.